or what you believe. My name is Kathy Hartman, and I serve as one of the worship associates to this kind, caring, justice-loving community of seekers. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. Susan Moody, another of our worship associates and my friend, is joining me in this morning's service. The focus for November services has been healing. We are each going to be reflecting on the loss of our partner and the healing that continues to this day. It will be tender in places. In this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, sometimes our free and loving search for truth and meaning may take place virtually, such as today. As we practice social distancing and wear our face masks to protect our own health and the health of others, we continue to hold our Sunday services virtually through Zoom. Please bear with us if there are rough spots or delays, if voices get broken up, or if the picture on the screen freezes momentarily. One of our talented Zoom techs is on the job. Thank you, Chad Escalier. We welcome any newcomers and invite you to tell us your names by clicking on the chat button below. You can also leave us an email address if you want further information or have any questions. Today's service will be recorded and posted on the namaquauu.org website. Please continue to keep your microphones muted during the service. During joys and sorrows, some of you will be invited to unmute in order to share, and all of you can unmute your microphones if you choose to stay after the service to socialize during our virtual coffee hour. Let's begin. Susan? Susan, you're on mute.
Light the candle, cup your hands around the flame and listen as it whispers. What does it say to your warm and weathered palms? Light the candle, breathe against the flame and watch it ripple. Breathe your fears into it and let them burn into trails of empty gray. Light the candle, feel your bones melt like wax, all your hardest parts softening to the touch. Now let us worship. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy, and your passion. Bring your loving, and your courage, and your conviction. Bring your need for healing, and your powers to heal. There is work to do, and you have all you need to do it right here in this room. Come, let us worship together. Please recite with me our congregational affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its call. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please enjoy our opening song, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd.
So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts? Hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze, cold comfort for change. Did they get to exchange a walk-on Paul in the war for a lead role in a cage? How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl year after year, running over the same old ground. What have we found? The same old fears. Wish you were here.
Our time for all ages is called Feather's Story. It is a spoken word by a 10-year-old Native American girl from Bismarck, North Dakota. She shares her thoughts about healing our damaged world. Please listen and enjoy Feather's story.
I know I am a child, but I see what is happening all around us. There's a sickness in this world, and it's not just a pandemic. There's so much devastation and pollution. How can our voices echo through the world? It feels like we are all divided. I remember my auntie telling me a story about the jingle dress dance being a healing dance. Her dress, footsteps, and the way she moved her fan offered strength and healing to the people. We need to think about Mother Earth and all her inhabitants. I pray that we can all unite and heal for the future generations.
Whoops. Now it's time for Joys and Sorrows. Together, we are weaving a tapestry of love we call community. To do this, we take time each Sunday to share some of the important joys and sorrows in our personal lives. And I will transfer a stone from one bowl into another, acknowledging that this community joins you to celebrate your personal joys and offers you comfort for your personal sorrows. If you'd like to share, please raise your hand or use the chat to send your name and we'll call on you.
I see Janet's hand up.
Janet?
Hi, yeah, I had said before that my youngest daughter, Sarah, was diagnosed with COVID-19. Also, her eldest daughter, Lonnie, my eldest granddaughter, and her sweetheart, Brian, but we call him Brain. They all three were diagnosed with COVID-19, but they have since recovered. They had just had a mild case and they've recovered, so yay.
Barbara, did I see your hand up?
Yes, you did. I just want to express my gratitude and thanks for the love and care I have gotten from Namakwa in this very difficult time in my life. I am so bathed in love. It's It's wonderful, and I thank everybody for that.
Anyone else? Am I missing anyone? I have a hard time on my screen seeing all the faces, so. Again, we mourn the loss of Sharon Reef. Many of you knew her, and
I think Kathy Black, or
okay, Kathy Black, go ahead. Cindy Black.
Cindy Black, I'm sorry.
I did not have my hand raised.
Well, if you don't have anything to say, then we'll go back on mute. Anyone else that we're missing? Well, I'm glad we're in a good space, I guess is this point. And thank you all for being here. And please feel free to share more during if you wish. So at this time, Susan will present her reflection.
My journey to healing. Life as I knew it changed on January 17, 2013. It was a warmish winter day, and my husband Steve and I had driven all day from Loveland to Frisco, Texas, to my stepdaughter Alicia's home. We had promised to come and help her and her sister plan the funeral of their mother, who had died that week of pancreatic cancer. We were in charge of picking out all the oldies from the 50s, 60s, and 70s that would be put on a soundtrack to be played the night before the memorial at a reception for friends and family to celebrate their mother Cindy's life with food, music, and stories. Steve seemed really tired and was having trouble focusing on our task. He said that he wanted to turn in early so that he could be more helpful in the morning. It had been a 13-hour drive, and he had done most of the driving. I agreed that it was a good idea for him to turn in. When I joined him later, he was sound asleep. The next thing I knew, it was morning, and I heard Steve making these loud wheezing noises that sounded like his asthma flaring up. I immediately began looking for his nebulizer, and soon I realized that he wasn't breathing. I yelled for his daughters, and they came running. Alicia began giving her dad CPR, and Jennifer called 911. The EMTs very quickly arrived and tried to start his heart, but they said there was no electrical spark. I felt as if I was watching a movie with an ending that I didn't want. I was numb. I rode in the ambulance to the hospital, and it was there that they told me that he was gone. I felt that, as W.S. Merwin says in his poem, Separation, your absence has gone through me like thread through a needle. Everything I do is stitched with its color. So what does one do when all of a sudden everything that makes sense in life falls apart? Where does one begin to find resolution? Pema Chodron, in her wise book, When Things Fall Apart, makes this observation. We think that the point is to pass the test or overcome the problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Then they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. When the realization hit me that I was now alone with a large hole in my heart and a life to continue, I felt overwhelmed. Luckily, my brother was there to help me get through the memorial service and the early days of my grief. I honestly didn't know where to start first and knew that the journey ahead would be daunting. With what I can only describe as magical thinking, I thought that time would somehow heal my wounds and that I would find new purpose. I knew the 7 stages of grief from my counseling training and refreshed my knowledge of the process. I even made a card with the stages listed on it and put it on my bedroom door, thinking that it would help me keep track of where I was on my journey to healing. The stages are shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, testing, and acceptance. Naively, I assumed that each stage would happen in order, and that when one stage is over, the next one would naturally move in place. I'm going to have to let my dog out just a second. Riley, stop that. Get over here. Well, I soon discovered that I was swinging from anger to depression with bouts of bargaining thrown in without warning or sign of relief. There was no real order to this process, and I was becoming exhausted and frustrated by the realization that this might be my new normal. The healing seemed far off on a road I couldn't seem to find, so I let go of my pushing and following the healing agenda and just let the falling apart happen. I began to regularly meditate again and discovered the wisdom of finding the gap between my thoughts and just being. I let go of expectations and was kinder to myself. I cried more and was depressed a lot, but I accepted that the process of healing was finally beginning for me. I found Namakwa and became involved. I started drumming and painting and attempted to build a new life slowly. It felt good, and I knew it was what I needed. I leaned in and wove my new activities and friends in with memories of Steve. I talked about him to everyone I met, and this was healing for me. It was easier to talk about Steve with all these new friends somehow because I wanted them to know what he was like. Talking about him made me happy now. Our stories together became the most beautiful threads in my life's tapestry. Instead of running away from my loss, I had organically found myself incorporating my life with Steve into my new exciting life with all that I had discovered since then. As Pema says, to be fully alive, fully human, and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. To live fully is to be always in no man's land, to experience each moment as completely and fresh, completely new and fresh. To live is to be willing to die over and over again. From the awakened point of view, that's life. I know Steve would love all of you and be the best evangelist that Namakwa has ever had. He always said he was a born-again Unitarian. Thanks to all of you for helping me heal.
Thank you, Susan. We will now virtually receive our offering. One of the ways that Namakwa walks our talk is to give half of our collection plate each week to support our local community. This quarter, we will donate half of our collection to Alternatives to Violence. ATV provides shelter, advocacy, education, and resources for people impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. Since 1982, Alternatives to Violence has offered victims the opportunity to heal both emotionally and physically in a supportive environment. Each year, ATV provides services to over 800 people. To donate, click on the chat icon. Chad will display a link that invites you to give. or you can mail your donation into the church. While we're making these contributions, let's listen to Music, Travel, Love. These are two Canadian brothers, Bob and Clint Moffat, who packed their studio in a few small backpacks, head across the world to find the most beautiful destinations they can reach, and film videos of covers and their own original music.
One, two, three. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain and we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things that you need to borrow. For no one can feel those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, if you need a hand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem that you'll understand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Somebody to lean on. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Somebody to lean on.
Thank you all for your continued generosity. And I would also like to thank Tim Black Floyd, as we now call him, for learning and recording the song Wish You Were Here. That was a favorite song of my husband's, and a bit ironic because when Dave and I decided to share a household, I had one prohibition: no Pink Floyd. I wasn't a fan. Every now and then I'd come home at a predictable time and Dave would be playing some beautiful tune and I'd ask, "Who's that?" He'd say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm playing Pink Floyd. Let me turn it off." Clearly, I didn't know Pink Floyd, and he was going to school me in the music I needed to learn. It's easy to dwell in memories and sometimes to wallow there. That doesn't happen so often anymore. It's been 12 and a half years since Dave passed. And while I used to get in my car, turn on the radio, and Wish You Were Here played more often than I can tell you, that just doesn't happen anymore. Messages from Dave, I always thought, and I treasured them. And there were dreams and even visitations. Those too are mostly gone. Do we will them and then enough time passes that we're not able to do that anymore? How does this healing from death of someone so important happen? Is the incredible grief after great loss just a passive experience that one hopes goes by quickly? Or can one take an active role in healing? Does anyone really want to let go completely and move on? As Susan mentioned, it doesn't happen in order according to the classic stages of grief. So how about this? Retreating, working through, resolving? My husband Dave was just 52 years old when he died from lung cancer. 6 years prior, he'd gone through the excruciating treatment for throat cancer, survived and thrived. The second diagnosis was a devastating blow. Dave was so positive that he would survive again, but it was clear almost from the start to anyone listening that he had maybe 2 years. Because other than cancer, you're one healthy guy, the doc said. It was a grueling 2 years. My son was in middle school and that was not going well. Every day he asked me, is Daddy going to die? And every day I said, doctors are doing everything they can and Daddy is strong. As death came closer, I added, everyone dies, my dear. We had friends who helped out tremendously, but we were in a bubble of appointments, emergencies, chemo, infections, hospitalizations, and some small good news occasionally. We would celebrate only to be pulled back into the morass of new setbacks, new drugs, new interventions, always with the hope that a new treatment would be found to save this life. It was not to be. Dave died in the hospital with his mother, father, sister, and me at his side, though he didn't seem to know anyone was there. He died 5 minutes after I went off my shift of the vigil, as though he couldn't die in my presence as he worked so hard to convince me that he would beat this cancer. I touched his hand, but the life force was already gone. For the first time, but not the last, a deep hurt started in my heart and spread across my chest, a blackness, not pain so much as a deep, deep feeling of sadness and loss. The first days are for others, funeral arrangements, greeting and comforting those who show up to comfort you, helping a child understand his dad's death, phone calls, deliveries, and lots of activities. And then comes silence. The memorial's over, the family goes home. No one knows what to say or do, and they pretty much disappear, or they show up unexpectedly and you just can't deal with it. And I really didn't want anything. I wanted quiet. I wanted to be with my son, even as he retreated into his room with his dad's guitar and amplifier and blasted out primitive music, clearly in the cover-up zone of grief. And that got worse. My son was a wreck for the next 11 years. Some of that was autism, special needs, adolescence, and much, I think, was an inability to put dad's death in any sort of frame. He knew no one who had lost a dad. Over time, he began to find those people. He asked enough questions that he found other guys who had lost their dad as a child, and he took comfort in those associations and conversations, and in the feeling that he wasn't the only one. There was also some counseling, but it's hard for a kid to be in the place of grief and resolution at a prescribed appointment time. He tells me now that it's mostly growing up and accepting. He talks about his dad almost every time we're together. They had their own little love affair. Those years of my son's distress allowed me to focus on him and pretty much avoid my own grief. I was mad that I was alone doing this. I was overwhelmed by the task, and I was lonely as all get out. Friends mostly couldn't relate. I didn't have the right words to explain the nature of my son's distress or my own. Occasionally I'd write in a journal or a series of journals, the last one displaced, and so I'd start again. The retreat and avoidance was lengthy. It was all internal. It was lonely. I did, though, learn to combat the heart darkness. I learned I wasn't the only one who experienced it. And in Stephen Levine's book, Who Dies, I found this heart meditation. Come with me for a moment. Maybe you'd like to close your eyes. Let your attention come to the heart center. You might feel some heaviness there, something dense that seems to be blocking the spaciousness below. Don't create it, just open to what's felt. A nameless ache that may have been there for as long as you can remember. Reflect on the holdings of the heart, on the incrustations and armoring that seem to guard the feelings lodged there. Feel the pain. Breathe into it. Go deeper. Don't try to protect the heart. Feel the suffering held there, all the loss held, all the fears, the insecurity, the self-doubt. Surrender into the feelings. Let it all come through. Let go into the pain. Breathe into it. Allow the long-held grief to melt. Let your heart open into this moment. Allow awareness to penetrate the very center of your being. Use the pain as though it were a tunnel and move down the tunnel into the center of your heart, into a universe of warmth and caring. Feel the heart expanding into space, fear and loss suspended in compassionate space. Breathe into the center of the heart pain. Let go of it. Let the heart open past its longing and grief. Draw each breath into that warmth and love. Breathe in and out of the heart. Breathe gently into your heart. Thank you. That has been a helpful meditation for me through all of this. 2011 was a turning point. I found Namakwa. I didn't think I had time for church. I didn't think I needed religion. I didn't know anything about Unitarianism. But I found community, thinking, caring, committed people. I found my tribe, a philosophy I already ascribed to, a place to listen and learn, and to be able to deeply and honestly express myself. A minister who is a mentor, a friend, a counselor. She knows what needs to be done for and with people she inspires and encourages. I didn't know what I needed, but I found it anyway. I loved being involved with something outside of my family, though my family received incredible support in the bargain. I took comfort in the company of so many of the couples at Namakwa who treasure commitment and partnership. One of my first conversations with Dave was about commitment. I had met many men for whom that was a dreadful word. When I think of commitment, he said, I think of peace. He had me at peace. So this is a description, and it sort of becomes a testimonial just like Susan's. How does one heal from a grief that seems too much to bear? If you're lucky or you look hard enough, you find your circle. It takes time, lots of time. It takes a lot of tears. It takes deep breathing. It takes remembering, moving out of the pain and into acceptance. George Santayana said, there is no cure for birth and death, save to enjoy the interval. The dark background which death supplies brings out the tender colors of life in all their purity. Do I wish Dave were still here? Oh yeah. I wish you all could know him. I wish you all could hear him play music. I wish Nathan had his dad. But I'm also now at peace with his death. And I always come back to these Dr. Seuss words. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. May it be so.
Now it's time for our closing song, Ode to Joy. Now it's time to extinguish our chalice. Let us extinguish this chalice with the hope that its flame will remain burning in our hearts and souls with the sweet memories of loved ones past, who made our worlds a place of wonder and who somehow gave us the courage to begin anew. May it be so.
Thank you, Susan. We'll be a little shorter service today, partly because I forgot the opening song. So anyway, I have time now for a few announcements I'd like to tell you. First of all, each week, Margot Irwin, our administrative assistant, sends out an e-blast with details on the Sunday service and general announcements. If for any reason you're not receiving that, please contact us. You can always go to the website and click on the contact button and let us know what you need. A few announcements. And again, most of these were in the e-blast, so they'll just be reminders. Next Sunday, you're in for a real treat and you get to sleep a little later. Our service will be at 11:30, coming to you from California with Reverend Laurel sharing the service with her son, Reverend Marcus. The service is entitled Finding Ourselves in Stillness and Waiting. The pastoral care team is wondering if you'd like greater connection during this unusual time. Would you be interested either in having someone call you on a regular basis or volunteering to reach out to others? Pastoral care will set this up, so just let us know that you'd like to participate. Doug Stewart is setting up a life transitions workshop. If you're interested, please contact him. Also, in the recent e-blast, there is a donation link for the giving tree. Typically, as you remember, we have a tree set up in the sanctuary and we make collections throughout December. And this year, we're splitting those between 3 organizations, Neighbor to Neighbor, Alternatives to Violence, and the Larimer County Food Bank. Social Sisterhood weekly meetings continue at 1 p.m. on Thursdays. And again, please check our updated COVID information. Larimer County is in the red zone. Things are heating up and we want everyone to be safe. We've mostly closed the building for any kind of gatherings. So Chad is now going to offer you the opportunity to join our breakout room for a virtual coffee hour. So wait for the invitation, unmute, and spend some time with other congregants. And thank you all for being here today.
and eventually I got her to respond. And I was saying how my daughter Sherry wrote something and misses her, my oldest daughter, and how her husband Mike is missing her and her other family, and that we'll do the best we can. Um, and my older daughter sent me a email that describes the stages of death that one feels, like you described, Kathy,
Mhm.
and it describes the stages that you go through and what the person focused on tends to do, and how they may do sleep a little or they may cry a little. And it was an excellent description. And if I can, I'll try to get a copy to you, Kathy. And
It's just criminal. You're right.
Hey guys.
Hi, Guy.
Hi.
You
I
sure did a good job, Chad, with the music and everything.
Yeah, that was smooth as silk.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to know if you want to join because I noticed it's a smaller group. I
Sure.
can add you to room 5, which is where Kathy, Kent, and Peter are. You want me to
Sure.
send you there? Okay.
Should we go there, Fred?
Sounds good.
Okay. By the magic of whatever. Beam us up, Chad.
All right. I'm looking for you. Let's see.
And Shirley might be here too, but we can't hear her or see her.
Yeah, I think she left because I saw her initially. Not sure what happened.
Maybe
Okay.
she didn't want to talk with us.
Here you go, Fred. Room 5. One more minute.
Bye. Have a good trip, Laurel and Francie.
Cindy, are you still there?
See you next week
Okie dokie.
with more.
If not sooner.
Yep.
Yep. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Janet and Mim
Everybody.
and
Hey,
Tig.
and Barbara came again. Barbara Lambert.
Oh, yeah.
Barbara, good to see you again.
And then
Yeah, Barbara.
And your mom did a great job. Didn't your mom? She was amazing.
She is amazing.
he was just leaving. He didn't want to hear that. Laura.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
You guys take care.
Okay. Bye.